Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
The Knicks are talented. They're 37-20. It's not a bad season by any stretch. They're just not being the upper echelon team.
This is the Knicks team right now. They're a very good team. And I'm a Knicks fan. You can't look at there and say, this team can win a championship. They're not good enough. They're not good enough defensively. Are we the New York Knicks or are we the New York Fugazis? Just forget about it.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid. The Eagles got it done. If you back them, you're celebrating. Football season may be over, but the action never stops.
Are you ready for some baseball?
At SportsGrid, we're always in the game. We bring you 24/7 betting insights, expert picks, and real-time analysis. Next big play is already in motion. Are you ready? It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome in. It's in-game live game day on a terrific Thursday evening. Scott Wetzel and Mr. Joe Raineri sitting in for Dave Sherapan tonight as we go over the next 2 hours until 10 p.m. Eastern time, watching, analyzing, betting in the world of sports. Yes, got a little NBA, little college basketball, little NHL. We got our usual SGPs, little black clouds, great lineup of guests. So busy couple of hours, hopefully making a couple of shekels along the way. What's going on, Joe? How are you tonight? They're bringing back the A-team. Not bad.
Yeah, I know. Putting the band back together. I have absolutely no idea how the hell why I'm here, how I got here, Scott. But I got to tell you, it's a pleasure to be here with the C team back in Master Control. Outstanding, as always, my friend. I can't wait for a little opposite picks. It's been a hot minute since I sat in this chair. So looking forward to it, my man.
Yeah, should be a lot of fun. We got 5 NBA games. We got a really not a great college basketball slate. There's a lot of games, but even I had to struggle today trying to find some winners with that. And then full slate of NHL. We'll have Joe Madden on in a little while, so we'll go over some of the hockey stuff. You and I both follow hockey as well, so that's gonna be a lot of fun. We got one NBA game right now. And then the college basketball and a full slate of hockey, like I said, that's already underway. So we'll start with the one NBA game, Joe. You got Orlando, Golden State. I was down. I must admit, I didn't think the Jimmy Butler thing would work out with Golden State. What are they, 6-1 now since they've acquired him? They've covered 6 of those games as well, 6-1 straight up, but against the spread. They are down 15 against Orlando. We got the biggie later on tonight. And I will say this, not that we needed more proof, but, with Luka being on the Lakers, every single game now is a big game for LA. When it was, LeBron and Anthony Davis, It was like, who cares, But now it's like a big thing, TNT's going to be doing the game and everything else. So, and then we got the Charlotte Hornets who have decided to lose by 53 games ago, 42 games ago, and 30 last game. So I'm assuming they're going to lose by double digits again tonight against the Dallas Mavericks. So busy NBA slate.
Well, it's a decent NBA slate, of course, culminating with with Minnesota and the Lakers. But I mean, who are we kidding here? Who didn't have the Orlando Magic scoring just about 15 points less than they got for the entire game against the Cavs in the first half against the Golden State Warriors, who, by the way, since they got Jimmy Butler, you had mentioned the record, but even more importantly is the defense that they had been playing against teams since getting Butler. Listen, you can say what you want about Jimmy Butler. I'm a Jimmy guy down here in Miami, Scott. You know this. There's a lot of things not to like about the character of Jimmy Butler, but one thing you love about him is what he can bring when he's engaged to a team. And the first thing he always brings is an effort on the defensive side of the ball, game-changing defense. And that's exactly what they have been playing when he has gotten there. So they're going to have to play some defense in the second half. I also don't think the Orlando Magic are capable of another 64, 65 points and a half, 66 now, 66 to 52 at the break. I doubt very much we're getting another 60-point effort in the second half from the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, that's why they're a strong under team, especially at home. Maybe that under 225 right now, because that's over 100 points might not be a bad play. But you are down there, Joe. Give me a sense. Who took the blame with the people? Did they blame Pat Riley? Did they blame Jimmy B? Were they happy with the trade? I actually thought they got a decent value back, considering they had a player who threatened to just not want to play anymore. How was the sentiment for the Miami Heat fan with that move?
So the sentiment was a lot of people just couldn't get over the fact that Pat Riley allowed it to go on and get to a place where it eventually got. But let's not forget, Jimmy Butler was under contract. He signed a contract. So the idea that, he's only not in Miami because he forced his way out, where Miami had to get to the point to suspend him because that's how big a detriment he was to the team. So, as far as the Miami Heat fans know, they knew D Wade, they knew LeBron, they knew Shaq. They loved Jimmy, and they would have done anything for Jimmy up until the point where Jimmy crossed the line and made it about him and not the Miami Heat, at which point the fan base pretty much put a line through him, and that was that.
Interesting. All right, so we got Golden State and down 14, 66 to 52. They were kind of screwing around there with that halftime. I'm not sure what was going on there, but I just wanted to kind of have that settle in. So Orlando's laying 7.5, 225.5. Just tipping off, Joe. We got a pretty good one. Like I said, we don't have a lot of NBA games, but, for the most part, they're actually halfway decent. Milwaukee at home against the Denver Nuggets. Denver, a 5.5 or so point favorite to start the game. It's down to 3.5, and maybe that's where it kind of ended up anyway. It's 4-2 early on. Denver 18-5, their last 23, including 10-1, their last 11. Meanwhile, Milwaukee doing well at home, 9-2 straight up and against the spread, their last 11 at home. How'd you see this one playing out?
Well, I saw a lot of Giannis points. I think that's kind of what we were looking for here, is because Giannis has had some of his bigger games in spots like this. I think I saw his point total at 28.5 this morning. And with a Denver Nuggets team that, let's face it, Scotty, they don't play any defense, especially in the paint. So Giannis, I think, is going to eat a lot here tonight. Ultimately, this is going to come down to the fourth quarter and which team mans up and plays enough defense in order to pull away late. That's what Milwaukee's been doing. Like them or hate them, that's kind of what they've been doing as of late here. The Nuggets are always dangerous, but at home, I got to give the edge to Milwaukee here. I think they got a shot to actually pull out the win.
All right. Tough little stretch of games here. Not that we need, the Denver won the championship 2 years ago. So it's not like, we're surprised about that, right. But they need to really prove anything. But I will say, all right, Lakers, they lose. They rebound, win at Indiana. Tough Milwaukee road trip. They got at Detroit, which, listen, they're red hot, right? 9 straight wins, 8 straight wins. Then at Boston, Sacramento, Phoenix at home, and then back-to-back against OKC, which is kind of a weird back-to-back because both games are actually in Oklahoma City, and they're actually back-to-back Sunday and Monday night. So, but a little 8-9 game stretch here for the Denver Nuggets to kind of show the true mettle.
Well, I listen, it's a championship team. Once you have that ring and the core of your players are still on that team, Scotty, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt. But let's not forget, so does Milwaukee. Outside of Middleton not there, you still got Giannis, you still got Brook Lopez, you still got some guys in there that understand what it takes to get the job done. I love what Milwaukee has done leading up to the All-Star break and then coming out of the All-Star break, they finally have stepped up and played some Doc Rivers defense. Finally, I won't give Doc Rivers any credit because we all know he blows. But listen, in their building, if it comes down to Giannis versus the Joker, we're probably getting an over, Scotty. If we're getting anything, we're probably getting an over here tonight in this game.
Yeah, what was it? 240.5 it was, Joe, to start the game. Yep. It's basically the same thing right now. Like I said, just opening minutes in, it's 239.5. I mean, boy, it's crazy. 240.5. You know, I mean, you can have a monster quarter and a monster half, and you're still basically just going to be on pace, man. It's they get there. They do. You know, I'd like to know the over-under record of games in which the opening line was 240 or more. I bet if it's not 50-50, I bet it is a little bit over. You know, it's not a losing proposition, believe it or not, as difficult as it is to say give me the over at 240.5. But we'll see what happens with that one. So then we got a couple more we'll take a peek at when we come back. We got a full slate of NHL, a lot of great games, couple of leading teams that are actually losing. Great betting opportunities. Check it all out. Me and Joe for the next 2 hours right here on the Grid.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in-game live, game day here on the Grid. Scott, Joe, Raineri until 10 p.m. Eastern time. We were just talking a little PGA in the break because Joe spent his afternoon looking at the Cognizant Open and watching this guy Knapp shoot a 59, Joe. You know, I'm looking like because there's no chance in the world this dude shooting 59 again, obviously. So he's probably not even breaking 70, for goodness sakes. I'm seeing if FanDuel offers us a second-round score for him. It's funny. They got Henley, they got Harmon, they got Berger, they got Fowler, they got Wetzel, they got Raineri, they got everybody except the leader, because I think they realize this dude is in for a major comeback here. That's funny. There he is. Oh, actually, they do. It's locked right now. But, at least they listed. I don't know when they're going to open that up, maybe tomorrow before he tees off. But what you think? They do have 70 there. They have over 70. But again, they don't give the odds, but they will apparently allow you to bet like over 65, over 64.5, over 63.5, something like that. So,
yeah, I can tell you, Scotty, it was, it's only what? There's only been 13 or 14 of these in the history of the PGA where guys go sub 60. And anybody that's ever played, this is always a top 5 rated toughest golf course of all the tournaments on the PGA Tour at PGA National. The Bear Trap, it's Jack Nicklaus, it's never an easy course. And this guy went out there and had the round of a career. He will never have a round like this on this kind of golf course for the rest of his career, for the rest of his life. He was making putts that I have just never seen. He was making 20 and 30-foot putts seem like they were 3-footers. And he was hitting the back of the hole. It's one of those rounds. I'd rather be lucky than good. Jake Knapp was way more lucky than he was good here today. I can assure you, the Ricky Fowlers of the world, the Russell Henley, Daniel Berger, all guys that, by the way, are only 4 or 5 shots behind him. This guy is not shooting 59-60 again on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I can promise you right now, I have a pretty good bet that Jake Knapp won't even finish top 20 when it's all said and done here, Scotty.
Wow, how about that? It's funny. I used to cover some golf for the local radio station out here, WFAN, many moons ago. And one of my favorite things was just, going to the 18th tee or 17th tee, whatever, just sit in the stands and just watch the golfers in their approach shots. And I don't even know who's golfing, right? You can't even see that far, whatever. And just seeing the approach shot, Joe, after approach shot after approach shot come within 5, 6, 7 feet of the hole. And it's just like, wow, these guys are so good. But it sounds like that was not the case for Knapp today. It sounds like he was like you and I, 30 feet away from the hole on his approach shot, but just happened to have just one of those days where everything fell putting-wise.
Yeah, listen, again, he was good. He found the fairways. He hit the greens, but he wasn't dropping, 175, 180-yard shots within 3 feet, Scotty. He was hitting the green and getting, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35. These are very big greens at PGA National, and it didn't matter where. If he landed on the green, there was a pretty good chance he was going to one putt. It was the most unbelievable round that I have seen in a very long time at a very difficult golf course that he made look like a par 3 course that you and I play on the weekends.
It's amazing. So, but yeah, I'm curious to see what those odds will be. Like, they just list each golfer and then they'll give you 5 scores and you bet higher or lower, but they don't give you the odds. So you got to see what the odds are. But I would be, knowing that, I would definitely be going higher on some of those things. So a couple of hockey things. I did not check, but let me just see. And if, Alex Ovechkin scored for the Capitals, because they did have 1 goal. No, okay. How are you on the Ovechkin thing? You think he's going to get it this year? He's going to get it. What about this year?
I tell you what I've been winning on is Ovechkin shots on goal props. I've just been going 3 or more every game. They're giving him as many as he wants, Scotty. So take Ovechkin 3 or more. 3+ at plus money for every game until he breaks it, Scotty. They are going to give him every opportunity to shoot as many shots as he wants until he gets this record. So it'll be all about Ovechkin for the Nats, who, by the way, this Washington team is actually not bad. This is a very good team, but they are very much going to give him as many opportunities to get as many pucks on net as he wants. So shots on goal is the way to go with him as far as I'm concerned.
That's not bad. That's not a bad strategy, because even if he doesn't score, and obviously if he does, that counts as a shot, and they're going to feed him empty net opportunities. So, again, that's a shot. So if they have it at 3.5, I bet he gets. I think they want to get it out of the way. Just you know
I
what?
agree.
Just get it. I know the NHL. Maybe people have said, "Well, boy, they would love to promote that for next year." Probably, but listen, we've seen crazy things happen, right? With this offseason in particular. So you don't want to screw around. If you can get them this year, I think they'll give them every opportunity. So they are down 2-1 to St. Louis at home, getting $1.62 on the money line. I did like them tonight. And now you're actually getting money. You kind of flipped about 100 points from being minus 170 to now plus 160. So 9 minutes left to go, second period. That would be one like, okay, that's a classic. Heavy favorite at home, down a goal. You got half the game left, and now you're getting not only odds, you're getting pretty good odds at plus 160 or so.
I don't hate it.
Yeah,
don't hate it.
Your Panthers tied up with Edmonton. Pretty good game down in Miami with the Panthers tied at 1 in the second period.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's another game, too, where big ticket here in town, Scotty, very hard to get. Two of the toughest tickets to get. TGL, the whole golf simulator thing that they're doing, you can't get a ticket. It's the toughest ticket to get in town, Scotty. They're going for a minimum of $500 to $700 to get you in the door. And the Panthers, making this ticket tonight against Edmonton, impossible to get. I mean, listen, people forget it was 3-0 Florida, Scotty, and we had a Game 7 here in Florida. I'll tell you who doesn't forget. The Panther fans are all at that game here tonight for sure.
Yeah. Wow. How about that? I'm not surprised about the Panthers-Oilers, but I am surprised with that simulating golf.
Can't get a ticket.
I watched a little bit of that. Really, I'm bored after 5 minutes with that. Amazing. In-game live continues here on the grid.
Yep.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. In-game live game day here on the grid. Hour number 1. Scott and Joe Raineri until 10 p.m. Eastern time. Joe filled in for Mr. Sherapan. Things go as normal as we can keep it, and that is SGP same game parlay time right now. Yes. Let's go out to Dallas later on tonight. Tipping off here in a little bit, about 10, 15 minutes or so. You get the Mavs at home against the Charlotte Hornets, Bobcat Hornets. It was 9.5 this morning, so I think the graphic you're going to see is going to say 9.5, but realistically it is 11.5 right now. It moved up once they got wind that it was going to be our SGP play. So boys in Vegas said, all right, Wetzel knows what he's doing, so let's bump this thing up. That's okay. Listen, it can go to 11.5, 12.5, whatever it is, just play it. Charlotte stinks, right? 3 games ago, they lost by literally 50+. 2 games ago, they lost literally by 40+. 1 game ago, they literally lost by 30+. So I'm figuring they're going to lose if, just keep it flowing, right? They'll lose by 20+ tonight. But still, lay the 9.5, 11.5, whatever it is, Dallas is going to win. They're at home. They're going to win big. That's leg number 1. Leg number 2, we're going to use Kyrie Irving, 20 points or more. He can get that in his sleep, right, against this pathetic biggest waste of human flesh east of the Mississippi Charlotte Hornet team, minus 620, but that's okay. Bump the price up that they're going to pay us by a full 100 points. Then we're going to go Miles Bridges. Remember, we had him last week. He's been actually playing really well for Charlotte. So let's go Bridges, 20-plus points, minus 138. We'll use Bridges 2 threes at minus 250. And again, if he gets 20, chances are pretty good he's getting 2 or more threes because he does shoot some threes. And they did bump it up quite a bit when you added that together. So we'll do that. We'll use Klay Thompson, 3 threes or more, minus 220. And then the final one, we'll go with Nurkic, 6 rebounds. Again, just like I told you last week, when we used Nurkic and Dallas, he's averaging 8 since he's been acquired. He's had 8 in every single game or more, and they're giving you, 6.5 for his total. So we'll go even a little bit lower. We'll go 6 rebounds. Add it all up, 6 legs. It pays over 9-1, plus 936, Joe. So we're going against the Charlotte Hornets, although we are going to use a couple of their guys, at least Bridges anyway. But I think Dallas wins big tonight. We haven't seen anything out of this Charlotte team over the last week that makes me think they're going to come to play tonight.
I'm just kind of shocked you only found 6 props to put together in that game. Really, honestly, I thought we'd have at least 9, but I'm impressed. Listen, this should be a game in which Dallas, say what you want, I give them all the credit in the world. You don't lose a generational player, not lose, but trade a generational player, your franchise, in the middle of a season, and yet still play the kind of competitive basketball that they have been playing here. And let's not forget, they have 2 Hall of Famers on the team. They still have Klay Thompson. They still have Kyrie. They still got P.J. Washington. They still have a lot of pieces. It's not the same like having Luka, but the reality is they have more than enough to blow out the Charlotte Hornets here, who are nothing more than a G League at this point, Scotty. So I'm with you. Why not stack everything you can in that game? Because likelihood of a Dallas blowout is that's the likely end result here tonight.
Yeah. Mavs have covered 6 straight at home, 8-1 against the spread their last 9, with the one being the one against the Lakers. But, Joe, listen, it's old hash. I get that. But that's why, the thing was so strange with the trade. It's not like, okay, you don't have really anything there. They had the good team. They bring in Klay Thompson. Yep. He's supposed to be the final piece. And you may say, well, it wasn't working. You can't say that. Luka's only played 20 games for them. I mean, he's been injured basically the entire season. It's just I don't get it, man. It just it's so bizarre, so strange. And then you throw AD gets hurt, like we all knew he was going to get hurt. I mean, you can breathe on him, and the guy's going to get hurt. So
it just felt like it was a disaster in the making, right? The whole thing was just. But I think it all starts with the ability of the front office and the management and ownership group of the Dallas Mavericks not believing. I mean, how much of a pain in the you-know-what, Scotty, do you have to be for an organization to be like, you're better off being somebody else's headache? I don't care how good you are, you're better off being somebody else's headache. And that is what happened in here in Dallas.
Yeah, that's the truth. That's the story behind the story, which none of these so-called insiders have been able to. Like, he must have been just one royal pain in the butt. All right, more coming up in Game Live.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Kind of a crazy schedule today with some of the games that are going on. Normally we do our Black Cloud at 9:55 first hour, but why not? We'll do it today at 8:30 right now. How about that? Little Black Cloud time. All right, we're going to go with a little public choice here. I don't like doing this too often, hence the opposite picks, right? But tonight it's overwhelming. Let's go to the ice, Joe, where we're going to go with Vegas hosting the Chicago Blackhawks, and we're going to lay the goal and a half. We're not going to go with, the -3 and change that they are on the money line. We'll lay the goal and a half and just hope that they actually win by 2 or more, obviously. And that drops the line all the way down to -152. Otherwise, they would be -410, which is just nuts, right? You can't do that. We saw that the other day with Winnipeg almost losing to San Jose. So let's go with Vegas minus a goal and a half. Blackhawks stink. We know that. They're 2-10. Their last 12. They do have a bunch of one-goal losses. I will admit that. But here's the key to it all. Vegas played Chicago already this year. So what? They lost to Chicago earlier this year. I don't think one of the best teams in hockey, Vegas, is going to lose to the Chicago Blackhawks twice. 2-10, last 12, 5-18, their last 23 games. They got the second fewest points behind San Jose, only 41. Their goal differential is second worst in the NHL. I'll take my chances, Joe, that Vegas puts another couple of goals on the board. Like I said, knowing they lost to them, this is, to me, got 4-1, 5-2 written all over it. Black Cloud, double your play. If you bet $1 a game, make it 2. Heck, why not make it 3? We're on fire this week with our Black Clouds. Vegas laying a goal and a half.
It's the Panthers. It's the Blackhawks, Scotty. What are you supposed to do at this point here? My goodness here. It's one of the worst teams in the world. And going up against a very angry, I think, Vegas Knights team, who once again playing, I think, under expectations to a point this year. To me, it's all about it. Listen, eventually there's a world, Scotty, you and I may not be around for it, in which the one of the greatest franchises in the NHL history in the Chicago Blackhawks will be relevant again, given the number one picks that they will have over the next decade. But the reality, they're not there. And I'm with you here. I think Vegas all day, all night here. I'd even go alternate line with that. How's that?
Ooh, all right, there you go. Not bad. I like that. Yeah, get some odds in your favor. Like I said, the fact that they lost to them really is what puts it over the top. Like, no doubt they took out that film and looked at it and said, "Listen, guys, you can't have this happen again." Yeah. So, all right, there you go. Not bad. Washington scored. Unfortunately, so did St. Louis. I'm not sure who scored first, but 2-1 game is now 3-2. With St. Louis leading. Ovechkin did not get the second goal. So final 2 minutes of the second period, 3-2 now. So and the line is basically, it's locked right now, but I'm guessing it'll be basically the same. Washington, a slight favorite. How about Columbus leading at Detroit? Red Wings, playing some good hockey. And actually, Joe, I said this on the podcast too, just a little side note. 3 years ago, Detroit sports was one of the worst in the history of mankind, right? The Lions were atrocious. The Red Wings stunk. The Pistons were embarrassingly bad. Who am I forgetting? Pistons, Lions. The Tigers were awful, right? Now the Tigers are making the playoffs. The Lions are terrific. You got Michigan winning the national championship in college football a year and a half ago. Red Wings are halfway decent now. Pistons would be in the postseason. They won, 9 straight? But it is 4-1 Columbus tonight. Long story short, over the Red Wings.
It's ridiculous too. It's ridiculous given the fact that you want to talk about polar opposites, home road splits here. You're talking about a Columbus Jackets team 9-16-4 on the road compared to 19-6-4 at home. And what I believe we had the backup in goalie Tarasov tonight, also for Columbus. I mean. Really? You got to be kidding me here. This is terrible. If you looked at this game and you went, there is no way I am backing Columbus on the road, backup goalie against Detroit. Yeah, good. 4-1. This is one of those games, Scotty, where you chalk it up to a loss and you move on if you have a Detroit ticket in your pocket.
Yeah. You want to grab them plus 2.5 goals, plus 154. You're right. It was the backup goaltender.
Wow.
I might take a little nibble on that, thinking maybe the Red Wings are going to come back and at least make somewhat of a game of it. So that's a bad loss. And they're playing, like I said, they're playing good hockey too. St. Louis scored again. That's why it was locked. So if you were sitting there with the under, it was 2-1. Final couple of minutes of the second period, all of a sudden it's now 4-2, and the under over 5.5. If you got it at that, is blown up. 4-2 St. Louis. That's fun.
That is and St. Louis has been playing some pretty good hockey too under the radar. Pre 4 Nations and post 4 Nations here. The Blues seem to have finally put it together. Which is good to see here. And even on the road against the Caps right now, I mean, to drop 2 goals in the first, 2 in the second, you're up 4-2. That's pretty impressive stuff here. I would not have guessed an over in this game, Scotty. It's not where I would have looked.
Me neither. But, barring, if you got it at 5.5, it already is over. If it's at 6.5, chance they're halfway decent, you're going to get it at worst an empty netter since it's a 2-goal difference. So, that's going to hit the points. San Jose just took a 3-2 lead over Montreal. I like the Canadians. I'm just going to realistically try and go against San Jose every game. They're just atrocious. Chicago is second worst in everything. San Jose is the worst team in the NHL. So, but they're leading 3-2 at Montreal. Did like Carolina tonight. Coming off a loss. They were shut out by the aforementioned Montreal Canadiens. Bad loss, right? 4-0 last night. I figured they were in a bounce-back spot. So they're up 4-1 against the Buffalo Sabres. Final couple of minutes of the second period.
I had no problem with the over in that Montreal and San Jose. Tell me 2 teams that play less defense than those two. And, you've got a San Jose team that's given up 3-4 goals a game here on average. Montreal, both these teams can't figure out the goalie spot. What do we got now, Scotty? We got 5 goals already. We still have an entire period to go. That total was 6? Maybe 6.5. It wasn't enough. I didn't think it would have been nothing but an over in that game for me.
Yeah. And, now they're giving you 7.5, which isn't bad. You got a couple minutes still left in the second period.
Yeah.
I think you can get 3 goals. I really can. I think, each score one, then you get the empty net situation. So, yeah,
Yep.
That 7.5 isn't too bad. How bad is Pittsburgh, Joe? Wow. I must, Sheriff fans, they're losing again at home to Philadelphia, no less, 2-0. They're in last place.
Yeah.
I mean, they get plus 460. That is just brutal. I mean, what happened to that franchise?
And they just didn't Philly just win this at the Wells Fargo 6-1 on Tuesday?
Yep.
So this,
5-1, whatever it was.
Quick turnaround here. You thought maybe, just maybe, the Pens would have been able to get a little quick revenge, but that is not what's happening here. I mean, Pittsburgh's defense has just collapsed here down the stretch. And it's not going to get any better, Scotty, given the average age of this Penguins team and what we have seen. So as far as I'm concerned, with Pittsburgh games, it's overs for me or pass.
Yeah, it's amazing. They've lost 6 of they're 6-16 their last 22, not counting tonight. 1-6 their last 7 at home. They're in last place in the Metropolitan. I mean, it's just like, you think they're going to turn it around, but it hasn't. Every single night you make an excuse not to bet against them, and they're down again. So, we'll talk some hockey. Andrew McGinnis, your buddy from WagerTalk.com. We'll join us next to spend a show with him right here on the Grid.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Joe Raineri until 10 p.m. Eastern time as we take a look at a little NBA, little hockey, little college basketball. So we did take a peek, Joe. We mentioned it there. Is it after 2? Yeah, it's after 2 periods. Ovechkin already 3 shots on goal. And he's missed a couple of shots, which, doesn't count as a shot on goal. But as I was telling you in the break, I do like looking at that SM shots missed just to kind of give you an idea. Is the guy active? Because it might not be a shot on goal, but, at least he's shooting. So, yeah, he's a constant 4. I mean, just if it's 3.5, man, and as we were talking, right, lather him up. Kid, bet him 4.5, 5.5.
Yep.
He's got a bunch of 7s. As he's getting closer and closer, his number, shots on goal, is going through the roof.
Yep, ladder him up every chance you get from here on out until he gets the record. I think the prices will be fair enough, and it's worth giving a shot here. I think he was 3.5 was -120 tonight. I think 4 or better was about $1.95 plus 195. So just keep going. Anytime goal, last goal. Anywhere that you can get him at this point, Scotty, at plus money, just ladder him up in every game at this point, especially with the games that the matchups favor them. They are going to give him as many chances to get this record in every game as humanly possible. And I would also, Scotty, I'm all for it. Give it to him. You know what I mean? Give it to him at this point.
Yeah. We had this discussion, Joe. Let me know how you feel about this. And it's not just with hockey. I've said this with baseball in particular, home runs generally speaking. But I don't get why we don't include postseason numbers when it comes to your career. Not individual awards in season. I get that. But ultimately, when someone says who scored the most goals, Wayne Gretzky or Alex Ovechkin, the answer, eventually is going to be Ovechkin. But in reality, Gretzky has scored 50 more goals in the postseason. I don't know why we don't include those goals. And if we did, he's up by 62. It's not even close yet. I mean, Ovechkin probably eventually will get there anyway. But, is that goofy? But, when you say your career, your entire career, I scored, 70 or what 112, I think it is for Gretzky playoff goals. Why shouldn't those count?
Yeah, they absolutely should count. But I think they count on a different level because, Scotty, we all know, anybody that follows the NHL, playoffs is a different animal. Totally different animal. So you should not lump in anything that happens in the playoffs in the regular season. Call me crazy. Let the playoff records stand on their own. Let the regular season stand on their own. They are two totally different animals. And quite honestly, the numbers that Gretzky put up in the playoffs just speak volumes. Ovechkin will never even come close to being in that category.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird. I don't know. I always just think, all right, that's your career, so that's your career.
It's a different animal.
Yeah, it really is. Heck, I've always said, you can even give me double because the playoff goal obviously is so much more meaningful. Some guys have said take out the empty netters. I'm not really keen. Goal's a goal, but I've had guys say you shouldn't count the empty netters and make a separate category for that since it's not really a goal. But
hey, you know what? Dan Marino is a great regular season quarterback. How are those postseason numbers, guy? Please. Yeah. It's a different animal.
Yeah. Still can't believe Dan never got back to the Super Bowl after that second year. I just never. I tell you, I always point to that, Joe. Whenever you hear someone say, "All right, they're playing with house money," they're young, C.J. Stroud or Jade Daniels. Yeah, don't worry about losing. Listen. As a Dolphin fan, I will tell you, I said that for year after year after year, and we never got back. So
true.
Got to be careful. Got to be careful. Winnipeg going for its 12th straight win, down 2-1, first period closing up at Nashville. Getting plus 162 now are the Jets. How about that?
Give me a couple of more goals because if you didn't think we were getting goals in this one, I don't know what to tell you here. We got a second of a back-to-back here for Winnipeg in this spot here. Right. I would imagine that we're going to get a little bit of tired legs in this spot. Not backup, like backup to the backup, who has sucked all year long here. So, I was good on the over here tonight. I would not be shocked if Nashville figures out a way to pull this win out either.
Yeah. Let's get some thoughts from your good buddy over at wagertalk.com. Andrew McGinnis joins us now. Andrew, Scott, and Joe. Let me throw out the thing Joe and I were just talking about with Gretzky and Ovechkin, who has not yet scored tonight. But I was saying, Andrew, that you should include playoff goals as part of your career goals. What do you think about that strategy and thought?
Well, I think about a player like Brady Tkachuk, right? Such a great playoff or a great player in general, but he's never been to the playoffs. So he immediately would fall behind in that conversation. We just watched him probably be a top 3 player on Team USA at the Four Nations. And Scott, he's never been to the postseason. So I would feel bad for guys like that just would fall behind in these rankings because their teams aren't very good. That's the only thing I'd feel bad for. I get what you mean, though, because certain players are big-time players. And as a Montreal Canadiens fan, I'm always making fun of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And some of those Maple Leaf star players, guys, the way they play in the regular season is a bit different than how they play in the postseason. And I just want to add.
I'm sorry.
What Joe was saying there, too, I agree. You guys tell me if this is a little bit of a bad comparison, but the empty netters to me in hockey, it's comparable, I think, to LeBron being on the floor when the Lakers are up 25 points, all right? You don't need this guy to be on the floor when you're up to 25 points. I don't want to hear that he finished with 33 points if he got 23 of them in the fourth quarter. You know what I mean? To me, that's the same as an empty netter.
Yeah. Well, it's just two different animals, Andrew. I mean, the guys that never get to the postseason, judge them on their regular season. But the guys that are good enough and a part of teams that get to that's a different animal. I don't think we should conflate any of it. Leave the postseason and the postseason records in the postseason, Andrew.
We'll take a quick break. We got a bunch of games going on. But this team's got to fail to get the stuff together.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
right, welcome back. In-game live, game day here on the grid. Scott and Joe talk with Andrew McGinnis, wagertalk.com. So, Andrew, before we get to some of the games that are starting a little bit later on, got some decent teams, like the good inline betting opportunities, right? Decent teams that are losing, albeit some with backup goalies, but you got Winnipeg down 2-1 early on against Nashville. You got my beloved Bruins, although that was like pick'em, trailing 2-0. You got Washington down 4-2. Any games that are already underway that you like?
You know what, guys? I think this is a big game for the Boston Bruins. I think this is a game we see the Boston Bruins play right until the end. Right now, I'm seeing you could jump in at +2.5. You could jump in on the nice money line price. You can take the 1.5, whatever it might be. I think this is a game we see a lot of heart and soul from this Bruins team. You know, for many years, they were a playoff team. For many years, they had a top six that was so undeniably pretty much unstoppable. And then all of a sudden, they lost their depth. They lost their swag to their team. It's been a very long time since you've heard the Boston Bruins general management say, we might be sellers at the trade deadline. And all you can do as players is perform at a high level to tell your GM, we don't need to sell. We're good. And I think in this game in particular, whether you want to jump in on the live over, whether you want to take the +2.5, whether you want to get crazy and take the Bees at 6-1 odds, I think this Bruins team can kind of keep this game close at least, or at least get the scoring going. The Islanders are good at keeping leads, but I believe in this Bruins team, and this is a very, very desperate spot for them. So I do kind of have faith that they can kind of get going. This Islanders team is good at holding on to things, guys. And I know we're talking about teams that are down. I try not to bet on my own team, my favorite team, but I'm telling you guys, based on the pre-game line that we saw in the Montreal Canadiens, you got to love the current number on them, right, Scott? I mean, based on the pregame number, we're going into the third period. I think my Habs are worth a bet here, guys.
I looked at the over in the game, Andrew, because, I mean, where's the defense coming from? Both goaltending in both of these franchises, they can't figure it out. So it just feels like, all right, as far as I'm going, when I get two teams that can't play any defense and average giving up 3.5, 4 goals a game, I'm going to go to the over. But what are we doing? It felt like the same thing here just down the road for me tonight with my Panthers as they welcome in Edmonton here. I think, what are we, 2-2 tied now in the second?
Yep.
I think that was ballooned all the way up to, 6.5? It might have even hit 7 before the puck drop. But who can blame people, Andrew? How in the hell are you sweating out an under in the Panthers and Edmonton Oilers?
I really hope nobody is. I really hope nobody put that under. But, you know, guys, I saw a quote before coming on here, and it was McDavid saying to the media, I would be lying to you if I said I've been feeling my best lately since the Four Nations. Keep in mind that they lost in the Stanley Cup Finals to this very team, and it can be so deflating. You hear a lot about it in the NFL. Teams that lose once they've made it all the way to the big game, the next year they might not even make the postseason. The Oilers have been so deflated, emotional turmoil, and they go ahead and see McDavid win the Four Nations but score the game winner. He has one of the worst plus minuses in the league since returning from the Four Nations, but they lose 6-3 to the Flyers, lose 7-3 to the Capitals, lose 4-1 to the Lightning. Guys, I feel like I kind of want to take this team live right now, because if we're going to say that some of these games don't mean much after the break, you got to think this game means a hell of a lot to the Oilers.
How about this to start top of the hour, Andrew? Utah is -180 against the Minnesota Wild, who I know struggle at home, but they're actually really good on the road, and Utah's lousy at home when they're actually good on the road. So, and yet I'm getting +150 with Minnesota?
It's intriguing, but it's one of those ones, guys, where you kind of ask yourself why. It's like when people say, like, what do the odds makers know that we don't? You know, we're seeing this Utah Hockey Club laying this number here. The fact is, Minnesota's been banged up all year long. They've had some goaltenders injured. They've had some defensemen injured, some key forwards injured. Feels like a grocery list of injuries for this team all season long. And I'll tell you what, for this Utah team, I trust their offense. I don't really trust their defense. But I'm a huge team total fan. I love team totals because you don't have to worry about what the other team does. You worry about one team and one team only. +105 on Utah. home ice to get to that magic number of 4, over 3.5 goals, turn that nasty minus price into a plus 105 price. Utah to get to 4 goals.
All right. There you go. Andrew McGinnis, check out all his picks. Go to wagertalk.com, look for his icon, hit that, and then fire away. Andrew, great job, man. Always appreciate a couple minutes with you. We'll do it again soon.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
And welcome back. It is In-Game Live Game Day here on the Grid. Hour number 2 of our 2-hour extravaganza. Scott Wetzel, Joe Raineri in for Dave Sharapan tonight as we check out a little NBA, a little NHL, some college basketball as well. Though the college basketball slate tonight really not good, and tomorrow neither. It's obviously big Saturday and Sunday. So back to the NBA, Joe. We kind of ignored that here for a little bit. A couple of things we suggested, right? And one, you in particular, Golden State, they were down, 16? 14 at the half. And I think as many as 16 in the game. They were getting 7.5. You said, go get Golden State, right? Here we are, quarter and a half later. Golden State 103, Orlando 91. They blitzed them in the third quarter. Now they're laying 10.5, and you can either try and middle it or just take your plus 7.5 and walk away. You're going to win that bet. Even if Orlando comes back and wins. But yeah, that was that's what you look for with this in-game live stuff, right? The better team struggles for a half in basketball, maybe 3 quarters even. We saw with OKC last night against Brooklyn, down to 17, the third quarter, they come back and they win the game. So that was a good play on Golden State.
Yeah, no, and listen, the reality is the idea that somehow Orlando was going to match 66 points in the second half. Yeah.
Right.
They shot lights out in the first half. Now, mind you, they were coming out of a game in which I think they went 3 of 24 or 4 of 24 from 3 against the Cleveland Cavs at home. Orlando's been a very good home team this year, Scott. Say what you want. I mean, they're not going to strike fear in a lot of teams, but they have been very good at home, much better at home than on the road. you had to think they would come out with at least a big push early on against Golden State, and they did. But to drop 66 points, that Golden State is capable of dropping 70 points in a half on you, and you just kind of knew they weren't going to take kindly to being embarrassed in Orlando and getting 66 points. They've clamped down. A 40-21 third quarter has basically turned this game completely upside down, with now Golden State firmly in control.
Yeah. It's amazing, Joe. I mean, we see it all the time, but I'm still amazed, right? Orlando scores, as you said, 66 in the first half, 34 in the first quarter, 32 in the second quarter, right? You know, they've scored 25 points in the second half. We're 7 minutes left to go in the fourth quarter. They've yet to score in a quarter and a half what they scored in both the first and the second quarter. It's amazing how games they can just flip, right? I mean, good news, bad news, I suppose. The good news is Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler have combined for 46 points. It's kind of like Hank and Tommy Aaron, when they used to say way back when, they combined for 800 home runs. Yeah, but Hank got 744 of them. Curry has 43 of those 46. So Jimmy B only has 3 points, but Steph's on fire tonight. 13 of 19 from the field, 9 of 13 from three. He's got 43 points tonight.
Yeah, and you just kind of knew that was the effort we were going to get here at some point from Golden State, who realizes, listen, they're battling for one of the final playoff spots here. They can't go even on the road to Orlando and lose games, Scotty. It can't happen. So this is a good opportunity for them to be able to get right here, and they're doing so right now.
Yeah. Nuggets only 57-54 at the half over the Bucks. But if you watch the game, and I got it on here, flipping the channels with the different things I'm watching, they have been up and down the court. They're just all, both teams are kind of missing a bunch of shots. That's all. So you got 111. They're giving you 228. And I like that number for the over if the pace continues, because I'm guessing, some of these shots will start falling. It just hasn't been I don't even know what their number are. Let me look here real quickly and see what the box score is, because it can't be good. Yeah, Denver's shooting 44%, 35 from three, and Milwaukee's shooting 44%, same thing, 26% from three. So they're getting a ton of shots off. The pace is great for an over. If they start making some of these threes, so I do like that over 228.5 right now.
I don't hate it at all. I thought the over was probably a decent look to begin with. The fact that both teams got off to a pretty slow start here, but I mean, you got 121 points in the first half, 117.5 in the second half right now, two of this Denver-Milwaukee game. I'm going to take a flyer on the over here, Scotty. I think we're going to get a lot of points here in the second half with these two teams. And listen, Milwaukee down 3. This feels like it's Giannis time in the second half. Him and Lillard, a little 1-2 combo going up against the Joker and Murray. May the best team win. May the best duo win, because I think ultimately that's what it's going to come down to.
Yeah. I got a game here tipping off. It's not a great game. New Orleans at Phoenix. Suns laying, 7.5, I think it is. Let me double check on that. Yeah, down to 6.5, actually. Wow. 6.5 at home, 237. Suns are either the worst or the second worst against the spread team in the NBA. They're awful, especially at home, where you think, okay, they would be a little bit better. But at home this year, they are, against the spread, the worst team in the NBA, 8-18-1 against the spread.
Wow.
Still, this New Orleans team is just awful. It's almost like a no play, but if I had to, I would take Phoenix lay to 6.5 and just figure these numbers have come down so far. You see the numbers there. Maybe the under. Maybe that's the way to go. But New Orleans is an over team, so I guess I'll lay the 6.5 with Phoenix.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I know Bradley Beal tonight. I think he was ruled out late in this game here, but it certainly does feel like, so that's why it's dropped. So either way, we're not going to get defense from either one of these teams. So another situation, Scotty, where it seems high, but at 237.5, I would only look at the over here when it's all said and done. Didn't the Suns just give up $160 to Memphis, $155?
Yeah, they're awful. It's amazing. You keep on waiting for this team to kind of turn it around and have the big three be the big three for them, and it just hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened. And they invested a lot. The new owner there made a bunch of trades, gave up a gazillion draft choices, and man, it's just they're worse. They are worse. Michigan early on against Rutgers, leading 8-5. Couple minutes in. Well, I watched that Michigan-Nebraska game. What was it, Saturday or Sunday? The 49-47 game. Boy, you talk about watching paint dry and grass grow. Holy crow! So I was tempted to play brutal. The under. Right? Yeah. So I was going to play the under in this one, but I said, you know what? Knowing my luck, they'll put 110 points on the board after, shooting so poorly the game before. So I stayed away. They're laying 10.5 at home. 152.5 is the total.
Yeah, I was all on Rutgers. I took 10 points, 9.5, 10 points. I can't think of a bigger paper tiger right now than Michigan, who, if you look at their point differential, Scotty, and some of these wins here over the last month, they have a negative point differential, and somehow or another they're clearing games here by the skin of their teeth. I'm not buying it. I do think this is a good opportunity with a team in Rutgers that we know. Scotty, they got 2 top 5 picks in the NBA this draft on that team. They are very capable of making life miserable. Not to mention what they do well, Michigan doesn't defend well. Michigan still turns the ball over far too often for me, Scotty. They're a turnover machine. Can't trust them to lay that kind of number at this point.
Yeah, I'm still holding on to my Rutgers ticket from the beginning of the year at 20+ to 1 to win it all. Don't think I'm going to be cashing that one, but Joe Madden wants some hockey coming up next.
So my team didn't win this weekend, but I still did with this app that's taking over the game. Sports Millions Pick'em lets you make quick and easy predictions. Pick your favorite players, go higher or lower, and you can still win big even if your team loses. Plus, the multiplier is insane. With just a few picks, you can win big money. So get on it. They've got a welcome bonus to help you start off your winning streak.
There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott, Joe, until 10 p.m. Eastern time before we hand it off to Gabe and Cam. Cam will join us in about a half hour. Joining us now, my partner in crime on weekends, Miss Joe Ben. Talk a little pucks. What's going on, Joe? How are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good. It would be nice to see Calgary actually score on Andre Vasilevsky tonight, but I didn't think they would be able to. Calgary's been inconsistent on the road. We know they got that win versus Washington in Washington, and now they're having a heck of a time with Vasilevsky really standing on his head in this game tonight.
Not just this game, Joe. I mean, they've won, 6 in a row now? He's given up, a 2 goals against average, a .937 save percentage of... dare I say Tampa has begun to figure it out once again, Joe, and that is a scary thought.
Yeah, it definitely is, and there's not a really good way to jump into that game right now. The books have locked it. I'm not seeing anything happening there on TV. We might actually have an injury, but Tampa first period, it's a really strong way to go into these games and take it. Yeah, someone got a puck right to the teeth. So we'll see who's out for Calgary there. I didn't see his number, but the Tampa Bay Lightning definitely coming out strong in that first period is where you want to take them. And it looks like they're going to cover the puck line today, guys.
All right, rematch of the Cup Finals, Joe. Edmonton and Florida, fittingly enough, I imagine, since they went to Game 7 last year. Tied at 2, about 14 minutes, midway through the third period. Florida at home, laying only $1.28, which was pretty much the opening line. Where were you on that to start the game? And would you change now that we're 2-2 midway through the third?
No, I wouldn't change where I was sitting. I was sitting there on the Florida Panthers, so I do like them. Right now, I'm guessing Edmonton might have scored. Something's happened out there. The odds just flipped from -128 to -104. So not sure what's happening as I don't have that game on, but I do think the Florida Panthers at home here with last change should be able to get that win. Now, the total of 5.5, it's way too highly juiced to the over at -154, but you're getting a better value because that was a 6.5 going into the game.
All right, so we got a couple of games that we were just talking about that just dropped the puck here. I'm trying to figure out, Joe, what to do. Utah opened up as a -120, 125 favorite, and it was bet up to 180, 190 here. And Minnesota's record on the road, as we all know, is a million times, ironically, better than it is at home. So what am I... At this point, it was bet to a point, and Utah just scored. But it was bet to the point where, how do I not take Minnesota at this price?
I agree with you, Joe. I'm so glad that you said that because I was flabbergasted when I looked at this line and saw Utah as the favorite at home. This is a team that has struggled at home. And like you said, the Minnesota Wild have been strong now. It's Marc-Andre Fleury in net for them tonight, not Gustafsson out there. But I still do think Marc-Andre Fleury has been playing solid hockey, and they should be able to get the win. Now, Utah has gone up first, and I'm okay with that at +265. The Minnesota Wild are live to get this win. I thought they could get the win coming into this game. If you want to play it safe, +1.5 on that puck line at +106. Now, I know Ryan Hartman's out of the lineup. I know Kaprizov is still out of that lineup too from injury and Hartman from suspension, but this team has every ability. They have the playmakers. They have the ability on the road, so give me the Wild here, +280 right now.
How about Winnipeg? A backup goalie, Comrie's in there, and he stinks, but down 2-1 to Nashville, going for their 12th straight win. The whole second period, basically, Joe, left to go. Obviously, the third as well. +162 on the Jets.
Well, we know one thing about the Predators. They can never hold on to a lead, right? They come out strong. First period, second period is where they start to give these leads away. So with the Winnipeg Jets rolling so hot, I know it's the second night of a back-to-back, but that power play is elite out there. They have the playmakers. Look for Kyle Connor, Mark Scheifele, and crew to really step it up here now that they are down by that one goal. At +162, I think it's worth a shot. 12 wins in a row. Yes, it's asking a lot, but I don't think it's asking too much for this Winnipeg Jets team. So I'd be all over them right now to get the comeback win.
6.5 is that in-game total. We were looking for goals in this game here tonight, and I think we might very well get them. My question is, do we have a shot, any shot here, Joe, in Detroit coming back after giving up 4 quick goals to, of all teams, Columbus on the road? any chance that we can look to Detroit with about 11 and a half minutes to go here in the game in the third? Can they get back in this against Columbus?
Yeah, they absolutely could. So I'd be looking at the over 7.5 in this case. We've got 6 goals right now. The over 7.5 coming in at plus 108. That way, if it is they make that push, we get those empty netters, we'll see Columbus score a couple goals themselves in that case. But I do think it's Detroit, and I think Detroit could push this one to overtime. I'd be looking at a live overtime bet here. We know Columbus is that bet on team right now, especially at home. This team is really lighting the lamp out there, and I'm not shocked they've been able to put up 4 goals. Detroit needs to answer back. They need to make a push here and get things done. 10 minutes left in the third period. They have the playmakers to do it. They just have to play smart hockey and win in that neutral zone. So look for them to make a push. Plus 2.5 on that puck line right now is minus 138. But a jump on the over 7.5 at plus 110. Plus 1,100 on the money line. If you want to get risky, Joe, I think you go there.
Bruins score. It's not your guy though. It's Pasternak. So down 2-1 and getting 470. That's actually not bad with 9.5 minutes left to go in the game. You got plenty of time there. How about my Black Cloud, Joe? Is Vegas tonight laying a 1.5 against Chicago? Got to lay some juice still on top of that minus 150. But the Blackhawks stink, and Vegas lost to Chicago earlier this year, so I think they're going to come out with a vengeance tonight.
Oh, absolutely. I'm looking for a really strong first period out of them. I'm taking first period puck line on the Vegas Golden Knights with that taste in their mouths that what Chicago was able to do in their building before. So I'm looking there, but I'm also looking at Connor Bedard for the anytime goal for his 50th point tonight. It's plus 280 for that goal tonight.
Nice 280. That's not too bad. All right, let's see if the Bruins can tie things up here. Down 2-1 against the Islanders. Maybe send this thing to overtime with 9.5 minutes left. Joe, great job as always. We'll do it again soon. You and I working together on Saturday and Sundays, and no doubt to give a whole fistful of winners for all the people. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Have a good show, you guys. Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Again, thanks to Joe Bad joining us. She does from time to time, and I work with her Saturdays and Sundays here on the Grid, getting some puck action. So let's see if we could get a couple of more goals here, Joe. As we still got 2-2 Edmonton and Florida. That's kind of amazing. That's kind of stopped right there. St. Louis, Washington still 4-2. Columbus, Detroit still 4-2. So nothing's really changed too much. Buffalo scored to make it 4-2 against Carolina, but nothing really has changed from that. So little NBA, let's we take a peek at that. Fourth quarter, 40 seconds left. Golden State 114-111. So again, if you grab them plus the 7.5, you're pretty safe with that one. Scoring's picked up a little bit, I suppose. Milwaukee, Denver, 69-66. Bucks on top, laying 1.5 points. Charlotte's actually leading at Dallas 41-40 with 4.5 minutes left. It's funny. I had them when they were getting 50, or when they lost by 50. Then I took them figuring they're going to rebound. They lost by 40. And then I played them one more time thinking, all right, then I can lose 3 straight games, right? And then they lost by 30. I said, tonight, forget about it. I'm done. I went against them, obviously, our SGP and everything. And here they finally are playing a halfway decent game, at least early on. Not getting much of a bargain. Dallas, you're still laying 7.5. But if it gets down to like 3.5 or so, that's when I might buy in again on Dallas.
Yeah, I think you have some options here. I don't see any sustained value here with the Hornets. Right now, it's just a matter of if you can get Dallas at a number you're happy with here, Scotty. I would maybe even, if they're down a couple at the break, I think Dallas in the second half would be a great look here at this point. Just be patient because you'll have the opportunity to jump in at a much better price here.
Yeah. I tell you, the one thing I've noticed also, let me just see what he has tonight before I sound off on it. 6, that's not too bad. But I tell you, I've been playing Klay Thompson over second halves. He hasn't had that much going on the first half. And they drop his number way down. And, second half, he's the veteran. He knows, it doesn't matter what happens in the first half, right? So he's got 6 tonight. That's not that bad. But I do like, the fact that it's still a close game and it looks like he's going to be playing, in the second half versus it being a 30-point blowout where maybe they rest him. I would let him finish out this first half. He got 4 minutes left. Dallas up 2. He's got 6. They're giving you 14.5. But if you get that down to like 12.5, maybe if he doesn't score again, and if it's a close game,
why not?
Little Klay Thompson, not the craziest bet in the world to make. And he gets going on those threes. Yeah. So.
Yep. I agree. When he gets on fire, it's instant money, Scotty. When he's in rhythm, it's a no-brainer. It's just picking your spots with him. That's all.
Right. It's feast or famine with him. It really is. So. New Orleans leading that Phoenix 28-24 early, actually late first quarter. High scoring game. What, they give it 245.5. The Phoenix line is now down to 3.5. They can't lose, right? I mean, that's a pretty good number. I mean, that's still, we can win and not cover. I get that.
Correct.
Scrum going on the Bruins game, but 3.5 for a team that they're taking on a New Orleans team that is just awful, right? I mean, they're just brutal. No reason for them to play whatsoever. And you got a Suns team that, that they need every single win at this point in order to make the playoffs. I mean, they're at home right now. Believe it or not, if the playoffs were to start, Joe, they wouldn't even be in the play-in. They're sitting in the number 11 spot. You know what? I think I'm going to buy in at 3.5. I'll lay a little juice there at minus 138. But if you lose to New Orleans at home, like I said, that's it. You just, you're done in my world.
That tells you everything you need to know. Yeah, it tells you everything you need to know there at this point. We are seeing a nice little run here by the Milwaukee Bucks. They've now extended that lead a little bit here, 76-73 with about 4 minutes to go in the third. So you're going to be able to get either of these teams, depending on who you think wins this game, Scotty, at pretty much a pick-em price at any point here. As soon as this game is tied, you're going to have an opportunity to decide who you think wins. And I still give the Bucks the slight edge here at home, but this is now a tied. This is going to be a tie game at some point between now and the middle of the fourth quarter. I think this is just going to go back and forth until we get to the point where it's the final 3 minutes, 2 minutes, who's got the ball last, and who do we trust to make a shot? Is it Giannis or is it the Joker and company? Going to be fun to watch this one at the end.
And the Joker's having another great game. We'll tell you his numbers when we come back.
Yep.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this once? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the grid. Scott and Joe Raineri until 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got Cam Stewart joining us in about 10 minutes. We have a couple of updates here in the NHL, Joe. Your Florida Panthers scored. 6.5 minutes left, 3-2 now over Edmonton. Now laying 9-1. Boy, it's amazing, plus 520 on the other side. The bigs on some of this stuff in the NHL, boy, I tell you what, you're not going to win them all. But you talk about, like, value. I hate that phrase, right? But value, boy, you get monster numbers. If I didn't have a ticket on Florida already, I would, you want to give me plus 540 on Edmonton with 6 minutes left, 6.5 minutes left? Why not, right? But so anyway, 3-2 Florida, now over Edmonton. Still 3-3 San Jose, Montreal, 3.5 minutes left there. That stopped. My Bruins got 3.5 minutes now left, still trailing 2-1 against the Islanders. And everything else, St. Louis tacked on a goal, 5-2 against Washington. So that was maybe an empty netter, a minute and a half left. And then Tampa Bay added a goal, 3-0 over Calgary. Everything else remains
shocker. Yeah, I mean, Vasilevsky getting real dangerous real quick. But I don't know if they still will there be overtime in this game, Scotty? But I think we would have been crazy not to look at that with the Panthers and Edmonton early in this spot here, because the idea that these guys got to play extra hockey in order to decide the winner should come as a surprise to absolutely nobody here. And if you're holding the over on 6.5, which a lot of people are, you need Edmonton to tie this thing up here and maybe get us into overtime. I don't know if they still offer that prop here with about 6 minutes left to go, but it certainly feels like that's very much possible in this one.
Well, I think Florida just scored again. FanDuel has it at 4-2. Let me
Yeah,
turn
they did.
turn the
Well,
game
now,
on. Wow.
now you definitely need Edmonton to score a goal here to get this thing up and over.
Well, I will say,
Wow.
down 2, the good news is, listen, 3-3 would have been better because that absolutely guarantees you a 7th goal. But at least now at 4-2 with 5.5 minutes left, you got to figure Edmonton to pull the goalie with 2.5 minutes, maybe, or maybe even 3 minutes. I mean, you're going to have a solid 2+ minutes of an empty net situation. And if you don't get it then it's just, it just wasn't meant to be. So I don't know if it was at Verhaeghe. I think it was Verhaeghe with the Verhaeghe with the goal. For Florida. Man, they got so many snipers.
Crazy.
So many guys they can score. It is just amazing. It really is. I know maybe the regular season isn't going as great as they thought, but getting them right now as the 8.5 to 1 third choice, I will gladly take them. Yeah, I mean, Carolina is 7 to 1. Until Carolina wins a big game, I just can't put American money on them. You want to give me Florida 8.5 to 1? I will gladly take that. And then Edmonton is the odds-on
in
favorite,
a heartbeat
to 1. Yeah,
in a heartbeat, Scotty. You'd be absolutely crazy not to look at that. They are absolutely very much alive in this spot here. Going to be fun.
I don't know. When's the last time the NBA and NHL had back-to-back champions in the same year? I have to look that up. Maybe the Penguins, maybe?
That's a good question. It would have to have been
Bulls years.
I mean, Tampa, you would have thought. Tampa's the last one to do it, right? Tampa would be the last team to do it in the NHL. So at that point, would we have had anybody in the NBA that had gone back to back? I don't think so.
I don't think so because
do
Golden
not think
State
so.
never did. LeBron never did. You might have to go back
Denver
to the Chicago Bulls. Denver, no.
When's the last back-to-back NBA champion? When's the last back-to-back NBA champ?
I think, I'm going to say Chicago. Spurs never did, right?
No, can't be
one of the
that.
things.
Really?
You know what? Let me just NBA champions.
Come on, Scotty, pull it up. Let's go. That's what they got AI for. Situations just like this. Figure it out. Come on.
Celtics, Nuggets, Warriors, Bucks, Lakers the strike year or the COVID year, Raptors, Golden State 2017-18. They did win back-to-back. Okay, they beat the Cadavers.
That's the last one now, right?
Right. That's the last one. And then before
and what was
that,
the NHL at that point?
Let's see. What years are those? Those are 2016 and 2017. Let's go to a pretty good website I found, Joe. You might want to look into it. Google, it's called. Pretty good.
Oh, yeah, that Google is phenomenal. Yes, it's good.
Go places. I think that's
like Hotmail, right? Something like that. And they have Hotmail.
Something like that. AOL, something like that.
Yeah. AOL. I can still hear the dial-up. Yes, it's good stuff.
16. Oh, that might be it. Penguins. Back-to-back years with Mike Sullivan. 2016,
really?
2017. Now,
there you go.
You know what? The 2017-18 champion was the NBA. This is the 2016-17. Does that kind of count as back-to-back same years?
I think it does, doesn't it? I think it does.
Because Washington won in 2018. Not really. Not really. It's close. But I would say no, since that they weren't crowned that same year. So the last one before is the LA Lakers, right? Is that what I said as far as the NBA before that one?
Yep.
What years?
That would have to be right. The Lakers.
2009, 2010. Let me see if we got that for NHL. I kind of doubt it, but you never know.
You never know.
Yeah. 2009, 2010 survey says no. Chicago and Boston.
No.
Or
Chicago
Pittsburgh
and Boston. Wow.
Yeah, Chicago, Boston, or Pittsburgh, depending on which years. So it's probably been a while. It's probably been, you might have to go back to
been a hot minute.
Years. Yeah.
Yep. So, been a hot minute. Wow.
Carolina scored again.
That's impressive.
Columbus, Columbus scored again. And it looks like we're going to overtime. 4 seconds left in San Jose, Montreal.
Wow.
That's interesting. We got to get
Let's
something
see
out
here
of
now.
the
Yeah.
Down 2-1, 2.5 minutes now left in the second period.
Yeah, we need Winnipeg and Nashville to kick up the scoring here a little bit. That would be great. St. Louis finished off Washington, right? 5-2.
5-2.
How many shots did Ovechkin? And look at Pittsburgh just tied it up too, huh? 4-4.
Wow. How about that?
Yeah.
Boy, we were burying them all game. Yeah, and lo and behold, they actually come back and they tie it. So Ovechkin
that's
with
crazy.
4. Ovechkin with 4, Joe. And 3 misses.
Wow. There it is.
He got 7 shots.
There you go. Done.
So he's an automatic, man. You're right. That is he is not screwing around, and they're not fooling around either.
Nope.
I mean, listen, they're playing for something. President's Cup, number 1 seed, the whole kit and caboodle, but it's not like he wouldn't get normal ice time anyway. He's just, turned it up a notch for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. They give you 3.5.
That's crazy.
Go 3.5, 4.5. Yeah, definitely. Good win for the Blues.
Yep.
Bad win for
great
the
win.
Cap.
They're red hot, man. They are red hot. No doubt about it. Yep. There's
that are not going to get in.
They're going to be very good. Yep. Very good. And listen, who's the goalie for St. Louis?
Who's Bennington?
There you go. Played pretty well, didn't he? And he's already caused them to win a ring, did he not? So
yes, he did.
We got to have a hot goalie, and a good goalie will take you a long way. And St. Louis, boy, they seem to have figured it out once again here.
Edmonton scores 4-3 over 6.5 hits. How about
6.5 gets it done. Yeah, boom.
Jeff Stewart coming up next.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whatever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the 2 best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time, because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in Game Live, Game Day here on the Grid. Scott and Joe till 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome again, our good buddy Cam Stewart, who takes over at the top of the hour. Cam giving us a bunch of golf plays yesterday, and a couple of them doing well. I do appreciate that, Cam, including our guy. Now, listen, we didn't have the guy who shot a 59 today, but we do have Russell Henley, and they're offering me double my price. I'm not going to do it just yet.
No,
I'm not going to do it with him.
I gotta tell you, Raineri, this guy loves the cash out button more than I love donuts. Like this guy, like honest to God, Scott, I don't know what you're gonna do with that cash out button. Put tape over it or something. Like seriously, like Flex Seal or something. Anything. Just don't touch the button. We got a lot of golf left. Joe will tell you. I can't believe Joe was there. Joe, you're living the life of leisure. First, you tell me you go to the TGL, having a couple cocktails. Now you're at PGA National. What a life, Joe Raineri. That's why he's running the show and he's got a boat. Let me tell you something. I didn't see Jake afternoon nap. He's Jake Bender because he didn't go to sleep at all. This guy must have pulled an all-nighter because he was on fire, Joe. Can you believe this? A 59 on that track. Winds were down, but you said it, buddy. He hit every putt, and that's really not his MO. That's the magic of golf. You start hitting them, Joe, and you can go real low, but winds will pick up, Wetzel. So on Sunday, you could see like a guy. This tournament is notorious for guys with 5 or 6 shot leads that die. Like they go to the bear trap, boom, boom, put a couple in the water. So great live betting opportunities, guys. I don't know how you feel about the card tonight. I got one for you. Gabe and I were on Vancouver last night as a pooch. Wetzel, remember that one? That was kind of dicey. Nice. They gave up the 2-goal lead. I'm taking Anaheim tonight. I know my partner in crime's not going to like that at 10 o'clock. Hope he's not watching, but I like the Ducks tonight. I think they're in a really good spot. Small dog there. Vegas and Chicago, I don't know what to do. We're going to wait. I lean over in that hockey game, and I might take a shot with Chicago. I don't know. Vegas is kind of, they're not playing great right now. Like the +1.5 looks pretty good to me, but my play will be Anaheim. I think Anaheim's going to beat Vancouver tonight, guys.
Yeah,
Anaheim is all for me.
Yeah, we're all on Anaheim, so we're with you there. By the way, Canadians just won 4-3 in overtime. But Chicago beat Vegas earlier this year, Cam. So I don't know if that changes your thinking. Like, are they going to beat them twice? Really? I mean, maybe, but you know.
You know what? Sometimes, yeah. Actually, I took that. You know what? The funny thing, it was kind of like a reverse line, and I'm thinking Utah's laying like 70 cents against Minnesota, right? So I put it in some parlay pieces, and I took it in reg, but. That's the whole thing. Sometimes they try to bait you into the dog with these juicy numbers with Utah. Remember one thing, Utah's got to go on a heater. They're probably not going to make the playoffs, but they got to start winning games and a team they're trying to catch, Minnesota, they got to win these games in reg. They can't be splitting points or, losing in a shootout or whatever. They got to take care of business and let the other teams they play get none. So they need regulation wins to climb the ladder, guys. So that's interesting. Anything with college basketball tonight? Is Charlotte actually hanging around tonight? Oh, they're only, what are they down 1 at the half? That must be a misprint. What the heck? They lost, what are their last 3 games by? Like, guys, 130 or whatever? Wow, they're hanging in tonight. They're due.
And how about New Orleans? New Orleans beat that Phoenix by 11 early in the second quarter.
Dog night. What do you guys think about Lakers and Timberwolves? I want to take the dog. Do you have an opinion? I haven't pressed the button yet.
I'm going
is Edwards playing? That was the big question. That's what we were all waiting to hear. And I'm judging by the 6.5 I'm seeing that he is, in fact, playing here tonight, which I think is important to do it. I mean, this is just far too many points. I don't trust the Lakers. I'm sorry. Anybody that with a straight face is going to roll out Bronny James as an NBA player, Cam, I can't take seriously. As far as I'm concerned, it would be Minnesota or pass for me. I can't deal with it. We can all pretend he's an NBA player, but he's not. So I'm going to go ahead and back Minnesota, who this could be a huge win for Minnesota, who has not played up to their expectations this far. And I feel that's a lot of points for a team with Naz Reid, who has been dominating with everybody else out. I don't hate the Timberwolves in this spot at all.
Yeah, I think I'm going to play it, Joe. For me, it's dog or nothing as well. So, the way I think we kind of roll with the same stuff. Live basketball right now. We have a game in the horizon, Joe. It wouldn't be anything if I didn't give you one, half-eaten pizza crust from the dumpster. Give me Wright State live, 11.5. They're kind of getting throttled right now against Cleveland State, one of their rivals. So It's a lot of points for the home team. I think they'll come back and make a game of it. They are currently down 14. I will take Wright State, the Raiders, plus 11.5. They're at the half right now. Other games tonight, I got one for you, Joe. This team has been really hot, and people aren't giving them respect. Give me the Matadors, Cal State Northridge. I've been betting them a lot lately. They're doing a little bit of a heater ATS right now. They're getting points. I know San Diego's a better. People will take San Diego. This Matador team has been nothing but putting money in my pocket, so I will take the Matadors at plus 6.5. I was looking for a 7, not going to get it, but this team, they've been doing really, really well lately, guys. They've been winning games outright as dogs, so watch out for this team. Love the Big West late night basketball with Morency tonight. Man, we got a lot of games. Are you guys seeing these 11 o'clock Eastern games? Ding, 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 ding. Busy night and hoops.
I'm going to fly. You want to throw a flyer on Loyola Marymount? Getting 12.5 against St. Mary's at home?
I'm thinking about it, Scott. You know what I mean? I don't know.
First half.
We've been pretty good with the
first half.
You like the first half?
But
yeah.
If they're not close in the first half, they ain't going to be close in the second half. I can promise you that. So if they don't win the first half, they ain't winning the second half by any stretch. I'll take the 7.5 in the first half?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what it is? Probably.
Joe, you know why Fullerton's a baseball school, eh? Because these guys, their basketball team, they're one of the worst teams in the country. Have you seen these guys? They're getting 18.5 at home.
Awful.
I can't even budge. Like, I can't go to the dumpster for that. It's like
against Irvine, right?
Oh yeah, Cal Irvine.
Yeah,
that game's gross.
Ugh.
That's a very, very gross game.
That's disgusting. Yep, that is gross. That is gross on a whole lot of levels here. But yeah, listen, some of these late night ones, that's where it's all at here. I'll tell you also, we're taking a flyer on UTEP in the second half against Western Kentucky. I think they're down 20. But this is a team that doesn't lose at home very often here. Could be an opportunity at a great price in the second half for UTEP.
I'll ride the miners with you, Joe. Let's go mining for some currency. I like where we stand right now. So right now, Wetzel, we got Henley. He's plus 700 live. Don't touch a damn thing on the cash out. We will reconvene tomorrow and on the weekend because things are going to get wild. Joe will tell you, things change in that tournament quick.
I will definitely give him at least one more debt, for sure. Damn short game. We're at the top of the hour. Thanks, guys.
One more day.
Yep.
Brady Tkachuk saying that if his brother did miss that overtime period against Canada like we saw him do, it must be serious out there. And of course, Brady Tkachuk, not a doctor, but you've got to wonder the status of Matthew Tkachuk and what we're going to find out.
Game time for all of these teams and all these players that were, teammates. Now they're facing off against each other. Now they're back to being teammates, whoever it might be. Like, it's time to get things rolling back in the right direction.
HL today, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take. Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity. I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What? How do you do this one? Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
You have Duke the 1, Houston the 2. They're the two best defensive teams in the country. I want to see them play for the right to go to the Final Four because I think that would be a kick-ass game.
Duke is really great on both ends of the floor. They can score and they can defend, and that's why they win by big numbers all the time because they're really good on both ends of the floor. I don't trust Houston's offense.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
welcome back in Game Live. Game Day here on the grid. Thanks again, Cam Stewart. And he takes over at the top of the hour along with Gabe Morency. It's been kind of a weird, college basketball. There's a bunch of games, but a lot of obscure games, which I generally like, to tell you the truth, Joe. But we haven't kept a keen eye with all the hockey stuff going on. I bring it up only because have you seen the Rutgers-Michigan score?
Is it at the break yet or no?
It is.
I don't think it's at the break.
If I told you, yeah, they just got the halftime. But if I gave you the score after knowing what Michigan did to Nebraska, you'd think this would be a final score. Rutgers 57, Michigan 49 at the half. They're giving you an over-under of 189.5. Holy fuck. This is why I told you, right? I was going to bet the under because I watched a lot of the Michigan-Nebraska game, right? And I said, my dopey luck, they'll put 100 points on the board. You watch after playing so poorly and shooting so poorly against Nebraska. And you know what? They're both on pace for that basically right now. Wow. 57-49. Michigan at home, down 8. Pick them, getting 1.5, depending on whether you want to pick them or even, or grabbing a 1.5. But that's 106 points. Wow, that's something.
Well, you got me interested now too as well, because anybody that took we were on plus 9.5, plus 10 pregame. You want to talk about a middle opportunity here, Scotty, depending on what this number comes out at, then I might have to grab myself a little Michigan in the second half. Why not? It's a great middling opportunity if you were on Rutgers. I do think Michigan will have a little left in the tank to be able to come back here, but that's a huge 87.5, Scotty, is what the second half total is. Like, you got to be kidding me. What do we think we're going to get here? My goodness. No defense, apparently.
None. And the Rutgers fan, myself included, since I got a ticket on them, they're on pace for over 100 points tonight. They put 95 on the board against USC last game, and albeit in overtime, 89 on the board. But I watched the overtime. They didn't have that many points in that overtime. I watched the end of that game because I had Washington last Sunday night. 89, I think it was Sunday night anyway. 89, 85. So 89, 95, and maybe 100 tonight. Where was this Rutgers team all season long?
Exactly.
Where
were they when you needed them?
Yeah, they're shooting 67.7% from the floor, 53% from three, and even Michigan's shooting basically 57%, 56.5%, but only 23% from three of 13.
Yes.
Wow.
Which is why I kind of like the UTEP situation against Western Kentucky. Kentucky, UTEP could not hit water if they fell out of a boat in the first half, but at home they are tremendous. In fact, Scotty, they went in the first half. They shot 21%, 1 of 13 from 3. It's not like Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky was 2 of 9. I'm telling you, UTEP is not going to be that bad in the second half at home. They were a 5.5-point favorite when this game started. I would expect a big comeback here by UTEP at home here in this second half. They're laying 6, which still means they can lose by 11, and you still win the bet.
Yeah, that's not bad. I watched them a couple times. I went to UTEP for a year, believe it or not. They're actually pretty good this year.
Yeah. Absolutely. 17. This is a 17-win team here that was a big favorite at home because they have a very good home court advantage. But, when you shoot 7 of 32 and 21%, Scotty, the other team doesn't have to shoot that well. All of a sudden, you're going to be down.
Yeah. And it's not like Western Kentucky is great. It's not like they're playing one of the better teams in Conference USA. They're 6-8 Conference USA, 15 and 12 overall.
Yep.
So that is a weird, 17 is a lot, but I would definitely take them plus the 10.5 that you're getting, and you want to grab them plus 560 on the money line, couple of shekels to come all the way back. It could happen. It could happen. Yep. And you're right. They are pretty good at the arena. So
yes.
Yeah.
I like it.
Year. Way back when. My first year Went there for a year, then I transferred out to Southern Illinois. So
then they changed the name of the school as soon as you left. I think. Yeah,
exactly.
That's it. Yes.
Wetzel's gone. That's it. Let's we got to regroup.
Enough of that.
Nothing happening now. Bucks by 10 over the Nuggets, 102-92. All right, Lakers win, but don't cover. That's what I'm saying.
Correct.
And hopefully LeBron breaks the leg. Joe, great job, man. We'll do it again soon.